Okay, and we're live. So, a huge welcome to all our viewers to the very first episode of the Couch Cricketer. My name is Prakash, and I'd like to introduce my co-host and life coach, Satish, aka the Basha, aka the Proton Man, aka the One Port Wizard,
The
aka the
brown
Mayor of
jacket.
Headland, aka the Walking Encyclopedia. I can go on, but I'll stop. Um,
You missed
big
out on
shoes there.
brown Jack Leach.
Uh, so honestly, the idea for this podcast kind of came to us during the 2020 IPL season. This episode is obviously 5 months late, but whatever. It kind of sounds a bit lame, but Satish and I were exchanging WhatsApp audio messages every couple of minutes while watching the IPL. And we kept chatting throughout the game, before the game, after the game, during games, in the middle of innings. You get the message. And repeat. Some incredible banter, and we kind of thought, you know what? Why should we deprive the world of the amazing insights that we have to offer uh, as couch cricketers? Because sharing is caring. Again, a little bit late to the party, but that's fine. So, really, who says that cricket podcasts can only be created by ex-cricketers? I was a terrible cricket player. I never did well in cricket at all. I trained to be an umpire, but I was pretty crap at that too. I just like watching cricket. Satish, what about you? What's tell us a little bit, regale us with your cricketing career. Why don't you?
My cricketing career is all of six balls. My school team asked to bat 6 balls. Captain of the team also happened to think he was Imran Khan. So the first ball went to the boundary, and I got bowled to the second one, and third I don't remember. Fourth was a forward defense. Fifth was a forward defense, and the sixth ball was the last ball of a cricketing career. And then it started again. I tried leg spin, and then
There you go.
it kind of didn't turn. Nothing turned. Nothing happened, and they already had Anil Kumble, so I had a chance of replacing him. So I think I would also be the perfect person to be on part of this thingy because I know sweet FA for cricket. I can comment a lot about it. I can complain.
There you go. There you go. And that's it. I know sweet FA about the technicalities of cricket, but I can sure have a conversation hours long about it as can you. So I think that kind of makes us the perfect hosts of the couch cricketer. And I'd go so far to say that couch cricketers have just as much insight. In fact, I'd say, we are really the voice of the fans, aren't we? And hey, that's an important part of sport. So the goal is to talk about all things cricket, all formats, any series that interests us, T20, ODI, Test, the 100, T10, whatever the hell they come up with. Both of us are Test match purists. We're Test match crazies and pure cricketers, but we watch cricket and we talk about it. So we'll bring, as you say, we'll bring a layperson's take on the game, and we'll also talk about topics that people hear about and wonder, like, what the hell is a cow corner? Why is it called a carom ball? What's the difference between a dusra and a googly? Why is a silly mid-on called silly? Is it because it really is pretty dumb to stand there in the first place? So we'll talk about this. We'll ponder on these things and a bit more. And what better time to do this, especially when England experienced a defeat of fairly significant proportions. There's a lot of implications to it for the sport, for cricket, for viewers, for fans in general. A few days ago in Ahmedabad. So we'll talk a little bit. There's been a lot of reporting on it, all kinds of opinions, technical opinions. Lots of pundits have talked about it. And we're going to kind of add to it a little bit as well. But before that, Satish, why don't you kind of give us a quick rundown on the setting itself, right? How did we get here? England winning the first test by monumental proportions, or by a massive margin, let's say. Tables turning in the second test. It was a fantastic 2 tests, right? We had 2 full tests of fantastic cricket. And then we had this in Ahmedabad. So Satish, why don't we start with a quick recap on the third test? Give us a quick summary of what happened.
What didn't happen? would be a better question. The honest truth is, again, I was hoping that
Good one.
the weekend we'd have more cricket to watch. 9 o'clock starts and it'll be cool and perfect. But again, it ended as quickly as it began. Again, I think there have been lots of talks. Again, rather than me kind of quote or say what someone said, I think the best thing that I would quote would be what I read or what Nathan Lyon said this morning. As an Aussie, I was expecting him to heap more abuse on the pitch or just take pot shots at everybody. But what he did was saying, if we travel to a seaming wicket and then we had 36 all out, 47 all out, then it's about technique. But the minute a ball starts spinning, then it's the wicket, is unfair home advantage, and this shouldn't be the test wicket. He said, I'd love to bowl on this. So I just say, is it the best example of a test wicket? Probably not. But the point is they come in different shapes and sizes. So I just think what had basically happened is, again, it was right that the batting could have been better. There were a few dismissals which were kind of nonsensical. And then and the others just plonked their foot and just hoped and prayed to God that the ball wouldn't hit the stumps or the pads. So it's kind of, I think let's not go through all the records. I think the weirdest one was it's the shortest completed test match since 1935. Kind of that says something about it. Could have been longer. But I would just say that, again, I think it's some would say that the wicket was a backhanded compliment to England. One guy has actually gone on and said that because the first test we're expecting a walkover, but again, England literally kind of showed them what test cricket was all about, the first test. So again, this one was
right.
That's what they did, because Joe Root literally kind of stood up and kind of put his hand up and said, this is how you play.
Yeah, and it's just on that point, what you're saying about the first test and how fantastic it was. That was real. That was a real show of England's prowess, let's say, in Test cricket. And another interesting comment. Again, I don't want to quote every other podcast that I've listened to and all these other pundits who've spoken, but the English team itself, there's been a lot of changes, obviously, between each of the different tests, and whenever they've come within a fighting chance, or obviously in the second, if we talk about the second and third test, whenever they've come within a fighting chance of actually, putting up a stand or a front in front of India, it's been when Joe Root has pulled a rabbit out of the hat, whether it's been with the bat or with the ball. Very consistent. And what do you think that says about the English cricket team? That is it a far-fetched statement to say that England wins when Joe Root performs? And if he doesn't,
I think if you're more successful player, or the guy who has a supple wrist or who can play spin, like for example, he's like the English Lakshman. He can literally kind of play shots everywhere. And if he shows you how it's done, and the people kind of rally around him, and then they play the game. You're right on one point that when Joe performs, that the team kind of rally around him. And if he doesn't, they follow. Because the thing is, I think people have to literally kind of stand and watch when Joe Root plays spinners in the nets, and you can learn a lot. Because again, using your feet is very important. Again, cutting a long story short. So I think he did it well. And then going back to the Ahmedabad test, yes, the wicket was what it was, but poor guy again, Ollie Pope. I'm sad to bring him up, but again, he was thought out. It's got nothing to do with the wicket. He was literally thought out by a master of his craft. And again, it's a bad. I think it's unfair on Ashwin for everybody to go around and say, "Oh, I would have picked up these many. I would have picked up. Harbhajan would have picked up 10,000. Kumble would have picked up 20,000." But you come out and bowl the ball. And then it's easy sitting everywhere and saying you should do it. But again, the way he was outthought, even Joe Root was outthought. Quite literally, it was kind of chess on the cricket field.
It was some of another thing that I heard over the last couple of days, that it's not very often that a test batsman gets bowled. It's not very often. I remember when I was when I played whatever cricket I played in high school, that we were always kind of taught that it was it was a sign of a terrible batsman if you got bowled on your leg stump. and you were really crap at batting if you got bowled on your, I mean, off stump, fine, if you leave it a little bit wide, fine. But if you got bowled on your leg stump, you shouldn't hold a bat. But if we talk about Test cricketers, you expect that they don't get bowled. So what do you think? I mean, is it down to the ball? Was it down to the pitch? Was it down to technique? Or was it just that the bowlers had an upper hand in this game, all things considered, and it really wasn't a fair contest between bat and ball? What do you think?
I think it's a mix of all of the above. But the point I would make on that note is that again, it's just the people are going in with a mindset for saying it's a minefield already. So the ball's going to do tricks. Yeah, the ball was spinning, it was spinning like a top. But the thing is, you can still smother the ball. You can do different stuff. Again, we'll sound like we're quoting every other person who's talking about it. But the point is, again, it's why don't people use their feet? Just come down the wicket. Again, if you remember Ravi Shastri of old, we used to make fun of him. He used to run down the wicket and just smother the ball and just go back to his crease. He looked like a proper idiot, but it just infuriates. I'm not going to let the ball spin. I'm going to meet it and I'm going to not do anything with it. I'm just going to literally kind of bang it against the floor and leave it sitting there spinning.
And the thing that was sort of I've been thinking a lot about this because I mean as you can probably tell, but on the in the second test, Rohit Sharma obviously played a belter of an innings, full class, all class, just incredible. Ashwin played an incredible innings as well, 100 and just over, I think 103 or whatever that he made. Great innings, but on a different level. I mean, Rohit Sharma set the game up for India. Ashwin was having a great day out there. It was just his day. I mean, let's be honest, it was just his day, and he had
everything he did.
Great innings. Lots of lucky shots that he played. I think the one that got him a century or came down the wicket, it took an edge and went over slips to the boundary. Lucky shots, but I don't know what was interesting to me about between the second test and third one was. We talk about Joe Root, who's a great player of spin. Yeah, he got in the first innings and second test, he got out to probably not a great shot, but he put up a pretty decent defense in the second one. I mean, he was able to play spin reasonably well. And I guess, we talk about international players, Joe Root's probably one of the best players of spin outside of India. You know what I mean? One of the best non-Indian players of spin, let's say, let me put it that way. But he really struggled in this third test. Do you think it was perhaps concentration on the fact that England were down as second specialist spinner, and that maybe do you think that probably came into it, the stress or the pressure on him to play that role as a second specialist spinner?
I think that did, along with the WTC final. I think it's working on everybody's mind. All these mind games are being played because you want to get there, because it's been a year of. It's not been a year at all. Again, we literally managed to have some cricket, and you've got there, and you want to get that. You want to reach the pinnacle. I think that was one. And after a point, again, you need to have some support around you. Again, you can't be the one who scores. You know what Joe Root reminds me of? Sachin Tendulkar of old, where he would just come in and he would just do his best, and the rest would literally go, I don't care. When Tendulkar's out, why should I even bother?
It was just an expectation, and when Sachin came to the crease, he was going to get a century. And when he didn't, it was. It was again a hit or miss whether or not we'd make a good total. If we made a good total, great. If we didn't, So yeah, I guess.
Again, I always say again, if he's batting on one side and you see a batsman on the other side, just walk in, not even give a glimpse of the ball, just literally plonk his foot or try to sweep it and get bowled. After a point, you just, as I said again, there's already this thought process that again the pitch was against them, it wasn't working, it was not the best thing out there, and I don't know why I've been given that. And the thing is, even some of the decisions went against him, so probably that was also kind of annoyed him. Again, the third umpire decisions were all correct, but the point is, you can't just look at one view and say, he's out. You just have to look at 4 different points, and the ball still hit the ground, but you can't just literally say, I'm satisfied. That's not your job.
Yeah. I think that's come up quite a bit, the process that third umpires follow, and I think that's been debated quite a bit. I wonder if there's going to be any sort of repercussions for the third umpire. But on the second day, I think as we watched the test, they went through every single referral, went through multiple different angles.
Yes.
It was interesting. I think it was it Michael Vaughan or Harsha Bogle who said the third umpire needs to take his time because he's not the one who's under the timer. I mean, it's the players on the field who have to, who have 15 seconds to decide. I mean, the third umpire can take all his time, but I think that's been debated. I think it was definitely was psychological. I was also thinking, how maybe some players, maybe take Ollie Pope for example. I mean, not Ollie Pope, but just somebody like him who's gone out there, and I wonder if sometimes these players think, well, I'm out here. If I can make a couple of runs, great. If not, man, the pitch is against me, the umpire's against me. Well, what the hell? I might as well just go out there and have a bat. If I can get some runs, great. If not, yeah. Do you think that's something that they're just resigned to fate, maybe, and they just went out there to give it a shot and see what happens?
Again, sad to be bringing that guy up, because Ollie did try something different. But the point is,
he did. But he got up the same way in both innings.
Because the thing is, it's very difficult to face up to Ashwin because he is a very canny kind of guy. So he's kind of thinking and overthinking and thinking it again. And then I think, again, if you notice, it's easy for me to say, but again, plonking your foot, not moving either forward or backward, or just literally kind of going through the motions of just, as you said, throw the bat out, put my leg forward and see what happens. It doesn't work, but having gotten out once, it's okay, it's pardonable. But again, you can't get out the same way the second time because the ball did not even deviate an inch. Yeah. The ball came down the same way and it left him. And again, one thing I've always been told by saying, no, again, if you leave the ball, it's fine, but you have to be wary of your off stump. You need to know where it is, especially in this day and age, every off spinner has the ball that literally doesn't spin away, just literally kind of does something out of the ordinary, just literally stays. Like it goes straight or just a slight deviation. And then when you're committed on the front foot, and then you're not going to go anywhere. If he had run down the wicket, for example, say the ball wouldn't have even spun. You'd have literally kind of picked it literally off his hands. Because no one did it. I thought Ben Stokes would have just done it. If Ben Stokes had gone to about 55 or 30 balls, it literally tonked everybody, the game would have changed. Everybody would have got the confidence.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about expectations for the next test. But one thing that came from what you were just saying, just picking off the last thing you said, one thing that I've heard Virat Kohli as well as Joe Root and a few of the other players in their in their press conferences say is we played with intent, or we should have played with more intent. I've never. What the hell does that mean? I mean, what does that mean? We should have played. Well, what were you intending to do then when you padded up and took a bat out to the pitch? Were you just gonna freaking stand there? What do they mean? We should have played with more intent. What does that mean?
I think it's all. To be honest, it's all corporate stuff. It's just saying these things that have to be said. It's typical. There are a few words you have to use. Again, it's probably the diktat that this is what you have to say. And again, I'm sure it's been oft repeated, but when you are a top class batsman, if you get out, you just kind of think it's your technique. You did something wrong. You'd have done better. But that's maybe the outlook when it comes to when someone's saying there's nothing wrong with the wicket. It's our technique that is wrong. Of course, technique is one, and also if the ball spins like a cobra, it's difficult to guess whether. See, after a point, I think the batsmen on both sides decide again. I'm just going to plonk my foot. I am just going to put it out there, say my prayers, because I don't know whether the ball's going to turn in or turn out or just literally turn halfway across the pitch. So just go there and kind of do it. But again, they seem to be literally following. See, the point is I've seen the batsman look at the hand, Ashwin's hand, the ball come out of the hand, but they seem to be literally following it and then letting it do whatever it wants. But it's just literally kind of, you have to be kind of half cocked, for example, say, what do I know? But the point I'm making is, again, it's a very instinctive thing when you think of it, literally kind of do a Shikhar Dhawan thing, literally kind of run down the wicket and just go back to your crease. You literally kind of you're thinking, what's this nutcase up to? But that kind of puts you off. Do something different. Do an ABW, sweep it, or do a Rishabh Pant, lie down.
Well, I mean, I guess Johnny Bairstow tried to do that, but that was, I don't know.
But that was just what can I do?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion on the rotation policy of England, and I don't want to go into that. There's been enough said about it. The fact that they asked Moeen Ali to stay and all that kind of thing. I don't know. I think Moeen Ali would have had an incredible day on the park if it'd been on this ground. He would have had
second spinner. They had a guy who was an off spinner who could have literally made the ball talk.
Oh yeah.
You just can't go in with three. I know Anderson is Anderson again. The first test, I would say Joe Root is half the hero and Jimmy Anderson did the rest. He just won six.
Yeah.
He made the ball talk. And then again, three fast bowlers, fast men on this wicket. It's a luxury. I think one's too many because how many did anybody bowl? Bumrah was literally laughing.
I mean, in the second, I think I remember what Ishant Sharma was asking Kohli to let him bowl at least a couple of overs. It was his 100th test. Yeah, he got one wicket, but in the second innings, he didn't even pick up the ball at all. You know,
Bumrah was having a chat with Virat Kohli. Let's lip read a bit. It sounded like him saying, "Ek aur de de yaar, sirf ek aur." Virat said, unless you can bowl off spin like Ashwin, we can bowl left arm spin.
No, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I think England's selection. Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Root in his one of his interviews, he said that they probably got a slight misread on the pitch, and I mean, he didn't really go any further than that. I mean, it's interesting that Virat Kohli thinks that the pitch is good. Obviously, you know, he I mean, you could one could say that, you know, it's obvious that the Indian captain's going to say that because, I mean, his spinners tore it up and you know, obviously they won the game, so he's well within his rights to say it. But I don't know if he was on the losing end of that. I don't know if he would have said the same. But again, I mean, here we are. You know, let's kind of move into expectations for the next test then. And I mean, why I think it's an interesting point to